Hey there. I know things look a little different around here right now. I'll talk more about it at the end of the video. For now, I wanted to share an idea I've had for a while. Other people have probably had this idea, and there are probably mods for it or something similar to it, but I'm not familiar with mods, so I hope this idea is at least somewhat unique or somewhat interesting. In any case, my idea is to add a variant of blocks that I've been calling the step. I know this can be easily confused with stairs. I haven't thought of anything much better, so I'll stick with step for now. The basic concept of how it works is to take the top bit of a stairs block and chop it off, basically, turning it into its own block. It would still connect to other steps and could still be placed on the top side of blocks instead of the bottom. It just doesn't have the big bulky bit attached. I came up with this for the crafting recipe for it, just 3 blocks in a little L shape, making somewhere between 6 and 12 steps. I feel like this pattern works pretty well because it can be applied to plenty of different blocks. I don't think it's used for anything else at the moment, and it mirrors the stairs crafting recipe a bit. I came up with 12 for the maximum number you can get because that's what makes sense mathematically. And I came up with 6 for the minimum, because then it can match with its big brother even better, with both having overly expensive crafting recipes. To be clear, it wouldn't be some random number in this range. I just haven't come to a solid conclusion on what it should be, but I came up with these bounds for it. Now, why do I think this would benefit the game? Well, I've got a few reasons, but they can all be summed up with two broad ideas, being depth and alignment. With depth, I basically mean that it would be useful for a ton of places where a full block might feel too big. For example, if like windowsill, steps have your back. Decorative ribbing on a wall, no problem. Decorative large train rail, sure, why not? There are ways to do these things with the blocks we have in the game already, but steps would allow for all sorts of extra flexibility and new fancy shapes. On to my second point with alignment. Basically, I just mean how it would line up with other blocks. Like, these things would line up so well with iron and copper bars and chains based on how stairs already line up with them, as well as probably fences for some cool roundy shape based on my head visualization. These combinations alone would probably open the door for a ton of little wall decorations to spice up large sections of empty wall. Apart from that, though, they could be used well with stairs and slabs in general. I know this to be the case because that's where I came up with the idea in the first place. I've mentioned this before in another video, but I've built my fair share of rocks and paths and things, making heavy use of stairs and slabs to get more interesting and smoothed out shapes. Unfortunately, this means I get fancy, decently smooth curves in some places because I can use stairs to get that effect, the little half block, basically. And then right next to those, I get the more jagged standard grid of Minecraft because I can't smooth down any more than a full block. This is where steps would come in. They would help me smooth these down, letting these things look slightly more awesome. Apart from that, they would also work well in several other scenarios with stairs and slabs. As one example, off the top of my head, imagine you have a railway sitting on a top slab. It's decent, it's functional, but the way the rail just, like, butts up right against the edge of that slab doesn't look too appealing. The pathway looks too narrow for me. If I extend the sides of that pathway out by a full block, though, then it just feels way too chunky. You know what would come in handy here? I really hope you saw this coming. It's the step. Steps would let me push out the edge of this bridge by half a block, which would be a really nice option to have when building practically anything similar to this little example. I also feel like steps fit into the vanilla game pretty well, considering stairs and slabs are already a thing. We're no strangers to cutting blocks into parts for our own decorative gain, so why not slightly smaller? This isn't some overly detailed set of blocks with 20 functional uses and a whole system tied to it either. It's just a little guy. The only difficulty I would see with adding it would be adding it for every single currently existing block that would make sense to have it, like all the stuff that has stairs and slabs, but There's probably a way to automate the process or at least make it way faster, considering it's just a lot of repetition once you get the first one done. In conclusion, I think this is a good idea. It would probably revolutionize building or something. Vote me for president of Minecraft. Are you still here? I guess I've got some stuff to say, so thanks for sticking around. First off, style of video. I know I'm not usually hands-drawn like this, but it's hard to get footage of a feature that doesn't exist to put in a video. Theoretically, I could have used block displays to mock it up, or edited some images for a similar effect, but both of these have issues, because I don't know how to efficiently use block displays, and I don't want to edit images that would take a while. So I figured this would be a decent way to do things. I also figured it would be good drawing practice, so a bit of a win-win. I guess it probably took a while anyway, considering I'm not super with drawing, but whatever. Any constructive feedback is welcome, since this is a fairly experimental video for me. As for the concept itself of this block, I'm absolutely open to a name change. Steps sounds like it would be mixed up with stairs all the time, like I said earlier, so something else is probably better. I just came up with steps and felt it fit well enough, so if you can come up with something, I'd love to hear it. Also, something else I'd love to hear, how would you use this? I gave some basic examples in the video of some possibilities, but I'm curious how other people would use this thing. All that being said, I'm out of things to say, so thanks for watching, have a good day, and have fun doing some redstone.